Hi. Let's have a look here at this article from the International Business Times Australia, and it's from January the 2nd, 2014, about a Sydney dad charged for allowing 9-month-old baby daughter's genital mutilation. Excuse me. January the 2nd. A father in Sydney, Australia, has been charged by authorities for consenting to the genital mutilation of his infant daughter during a holiday trip abroad. According to the police, the man travelled with his family in February 2012. It was also during that time the father consented to have his 9-month-old baby undergo female circumcision. It was only 6 months later that the mother realised what her partner had done when she took her baby to the doctor. New South Wales Police Child Abuse Squad, and this is not the sex crime squad that was called out apparently, it was the New South Wales Police Child Abuse Squad, was alerted of the incident. The father was arrested on December the 31st, that's just December past, following police investigations. He was charged with aiding, abetting, counselling or procurement of female genital mutilation. That's very interesting, the being charged with possibly counselling. The Sydney father was granted conditional bail. He is scheduled to appear in court on January the 28th. Now that counselling bit is very interesting. He was charged with aiding, abetting, counselling or procurement of female genital mutilation. So counselling somebody to have female genital mutilation is a crime apparently. And I call that reverse sexism because, it's a free speech matter. We know that Professor Brian Morris of Sydney University is always counselling about male genital mutilation. He counsels parents to genitally mutilate their male children. And he believes it should be mandatory for all boys to be genitally mutilated. He does. And he's free to give that counsel to people. But if we counsel somebody to have female genital mutilation, that's wrong apparently. I call that reverse sexism. And I think there's a free speech concern there. I'm a civil libertarian and I believe in free speech. If we're going to have free speech about male genital mutilation, surely we can have free speech about female genital mutilation and give counsel to people who want to do female genital mutilation. If we don't, that is sexism. It's a double standard. There are Sunni Islamic sites, aren't there, all about the benefits of female genital mutilation. It sounds like if I start my own YouTube Australia website and want to spruik the benefits of female genital mutilation, that I could be prosecuted. There are umpteen websites, Australian and overseas websites, all about the benefits of male genital mutilation. There's a free speech matter there, and reverse sexism is obtaining there. Yes, counselling is a crime. So if I go on YouTube Australia and speak in favour of female genital mutilation, I could be prosecuted. We know there are Sunni Islamic sites spruiking the benefits of female genital mutilation. They cite better hygiene, less odour, less overexcited clitorises, yes, less overexcitement, less concupiscence. We know that Maimonides said that male genital mutilation stops male concupiscence. Now it's known too that female genital mutilation stops female concupiscence. And another benefit would be, yes, of course, if there's less odour, there's less vaginal deodorant required, isn't there? There is. I grew up in the hippie era where women didn't bathe, and we know about vaginal odour from that period. We know that vaginal deodorant was invented at the time of hippie women who didn't wash, and we know why. I've done a separate video about that. But of course, if there's if the clitoral hood is removed from little girls, there'll be no female phimosis, will there? No female phimosis. There'll be no cancer of the clitoral hood either. If you do the whole clitoral removal, there'll be no cancer of the clitoris. You won't. You can nip it at the bud, nip it out at the bud. Clitoral cancer can be nipped out at the bud by nipping out the clitoris. It's similar with labial cancer. No labia means no labial cancer. So there are all sorts of benefits if I go and spruik the benefits of female genital mutilation, I can be prosecuted according to this. Aiding, abetting, counselling or procurement. And yet, go on into your local phone book in Australia, Sydney phone book, there are all these clinics that do male genital mutilation. There are. Go on the internet, Google male genital mutilation, male circumcision Sydney, and there are all these clinics that do it legally, and they will counsel people to do it. Authorities declined to reveal the country where the family stayed on holiday as part of efforts to protect the identity of the baby. New South Wales Community Services Minister Pru Goward remarked that female genital mutilation on children is much more common in Australia. Of course, she cites anecdotal evidence, doesn't she? Anecdotal evidence, a story. Is a story proof? Anyway, Ms. Goward said, enforcing stricter laws on what she calls a hideous crime is not the solution. That's interesting that a former Sex Discrimination Commissioner calls female genital mutilation, of whatever degree, a hideous crime. But that woman who was a Sex Discrimination Commissioner, as Sex Discrimination Commissioner, did never utter one word in defence of male genital integrity. She did not. Not that I know of. If you know that she did, please let me know. In an interview with ABC Radio, Ms. Goward stated that there is a need to improve community engagement and education to prevent infants and young girls from being targeted. Fair enough, we want to protect young girls, yes, but Goward won't ever mention male genital integrity. She didn't as Sex Discrimination Commissioner, and so far I haven't heard her as New South Wales Community Services Minister speak up for male genital integrity. I have not heard that coming from her, a woman who is supposedly well educated. She's had the privilege of education. She's studied sex discrimination law, and yet she won't defend the genital integrity of a little boy. Not that I have heard. If you know, please tell me. Please tell me if, in her capacity as Sex Discrimination Commissioner, she ever defended the genital integrity of the male gender who have differential and unfavourable treatment as far as genital mutilation is concerned. The arrest of a father in Sydney is only the second case to be prosecuted in relation to female genital mutilation in New South Wales, according to reports. The recent case was also described as the first time a person was charged for having the procedure done outside Australia. In 2012, members of a small religious group in Sydney were charged for the genital mutilation of two sisters aged 6 and 7 years old. The case is still pending in courts. Ms. Goward believes it is easy for people to hide in a community that tolerates female genital mutilation. She said the Sydney father's case was the second one to have been conducted secretly, with conspirators keeping authorities from knowing. Well, there's no conspiracy keeping authorities from knowing about male genital mutilation. It's done every day in Australia, and a lot of male genital mutilation is even more severe than female genital mutilation. A pinprick of a little girl's clitoral hood, it will send you to jail and put you on the sex crimes register for life. But the clitoral hood, for example, has the female clitoral hood has the female hood has less nerve endings than the male hood. So figure that out. Surely, if a little girl's hood should be protected, a boy's hood should be protected. On a boy, when you genitally mutilate a boy, when you circumcise a boy, you cut off the most sensitive and nervous tissue on the boy's penis. The most sensitive tissue is cut off for life. The crime of female genital, we don't call the crime of male genital mutilation, do we? We don't. The crime of female genital mutilation is often discovered when the victim suffers a complication from the procedure or there is trouble in the marriage. Ms. Goward called for a change in culture and attitudes. I call for a change in Ms. Goward's attitude. Very well that Ms. Goward protects little girls' genital integrity. That is commendable. But Ms. Goward, as a former Sex Discrimination Commissioner and now present New South Wales, what is she? Community Services Minister, should of all people know that male genital integrity is important too. Little boys should be defended, and Pru Goward should be defending little boys as well. She should speak up for the genital integrity of a little boy. that that nervous tissue on little boys matters. It is the most sensitive nervous tissue on the penis. If you cut it off, you are cutting it off for life. That is interference with a person's sexuality. It's damaging people for life. It's damaging relationships for life. It is monstrous. It is barbaric. It should be outlawed as much as female genital mutilation is outlawed. See ya.